Does that tell you about, the Bible tells you about God, the Bible tells you about God, the Bible tells you about God, the Bible tells you about God.
You have to ask yourself, do you want to be the kind of individual that just lives a life getting away with what you can and living in God, getting away with what you can from the scriptures? Or do you want to be the kind of individual that lives a life that is dedicated to following God's heart for our lives?
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. So Abigail and I are here today, and we wanted to take a look at where in the Bible man began to eat meat for the first time. And we see, just to go over like brief history of the Bible in regards to food, in Genesis, God essentially puts Adam and Eve on the 80-10-10 diet. So they're eating mostly fruits and green leafy vegetables. Then, after the fruit that they eat, they leave the garden, or God's cast them out of the garden, and they go on the starch diet. So they're following the McDougall and the Esselstyn diet, and they're eating rice, potatoes. He says to eat the plants of the field. And then nothing really changes for quite a while until God sees that man is inherently evil, and he decides to destroy most of us through a flood. And he saves one man, that's Noah, and then Noah's in a great flood, and he's saved by getting on an ark. And when they come off this ark, well, there's nothing to eat. So God says this to him in chapter 9, "And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the terror of you will be in every beast on the earth, and every bird that is in the sky, and everything that creeps on the ground, fish of the sea. Into your hand they are given. Every moving thing that is alive shall be food for you. I give all to you. I gave the green plant. Only you shall not eat the flesh with its life, that is, its blood. Surely I will require your lifeblood. From every beast I will require it, and from every man's brother I will require the life of man." So here we see God gives Noah in chapter 9 of Genesis meat to eat. He tells them to eat fish, birds, and things that creep on the ground and crawl. And that is the first time that God in the history of man up to that point, had given meat to eat. And he gave it because they were going to starve if they didn't eat it. There was nothing else to eat. So that kind of tells me, from my personal basis and my family, whether we should be eating meat or not. What do you think, Abigail?
Nice.
I just wanted to add some to this video and just say that I didn't really explain very well the aspect on why I had decided to become a vegan. And the thing is that, to me, in looking at the scriptures themselves, it was very clear that God intended on us to lead a diet predominated by fruits and vegetables. And following the garden, I think God realized or foresaw in us as a world that we weren't going to be able to always have fresh fruit and vegetables available to us. So he opened up the starches, the grains, the rice, and that was where I think that's kind of the second best thing. I think that we can have our fruits, and then the starches and the grains and rice and those kinds of things come into play. And then I think that meat, for the most part, should be something that should be a part of our diet only in the instance that we're unable to have any other type of sustenance. And I think that that's kind of what we see in the scriptures. And even though God allows us to eat meat, and it's not a sin, there's nothing wrong with eating meat as far as sin goes, but it's just not what God intended for us. So, for the individual that's living their life to get away with what they can from the scriptures, to get away with whatever they can, then eating meat's probably not a problem. But to the individual that is looking to live the way that God intended for them to live, the way that God intended for our lives to be, then I think not eating meat is at least a part of that.